The sun dipped low over the Kikuyu Hills, casting long shadows across the land. The air was thick with anticipation as Wanjiku and Kamau prepared for the next chapter of their journey, one that would test their love and bring together two rival clans. In the days leading up to the dowry negotiations, Wanjiku felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. The process of ruratio, the traditional Kikuyu dowry, was not merely a transaction but a profound cultural rite, one that would determine the fate of their love. Kamau, too, understood the gravity of what lay ahead. He had fought to win Wanjiku's heart, but now he had to prove his worth to her family and, by extension, the entire community. The day of the first visit arrived, known as Kuhanda Ithigi. Kamau, accompanied by his father and a delegation of respected elders, made their way to Wanjiku's home. They carried with them a small branch from the mugumo tree, a sacred symbol in Kikuyu culture. The journey to Wanjiku's family hut was quiet, the only sounds being the crunch of dry leaves underfoot and the distant call of birds. When they arrived, they were greeted with respectful nods and gestures, but the atmosphere was tense. Kamau stepped forward, his heart pounding, and planted the mugumo branch outside Wanjiku's family hut. The branch was more than a simple offering. It was a promise, a symbol of his intention to marry Wanjiku and care for her as a husband should. The elders exchanged greetings, and after a brief but significant exchange, they shared a meal together. It was a peaceful meeting, but everyone knew the real test was yet to come. The following week, the families gathered again, this time inside the sacred space of Wanjiku's family hut for the Kurera Uhiki, the negotiation of the dowry. The hut was dimly lit, with the scent of burning incense hanging in the air. Wanjiku's father, a man of great stature and wisdom, sat at the head of the circle, flanked by his closest advisors. Kamau's father mirrored his position, and Kamau, though nervous, held his head high, knowing that everything he did from this point forward would determine his future with Wanjiku. The negotiations began with the presentation of the karufu, gifts that included beautiful beaded jewelry and a carved wooden box filled with cultural items of great significance. Wanjiku's father accepted these gifts with a serious expression, his eyes scrutinizing each item carefully. Next came the ng'ombe, 3 strong, healthy cows that Kamau's family had pledged as part of the dowry. The cows, symbols of wealth and prosperity, were met with nods of approval. But still, the negotiation was far from over. The final and most critical part of the process was the Mwati, the traditional bride price. This consisted of goats and sheep, and Kamau's family had brought a generous number, hoping to satisfy the high expectations of Wanjiku's clan. The elders debated fiercely, their words heavy with meaning, each side defending its position with proverbs and parables. Kamau listened intently, his heart in his throat, knowing that his future hung in the balance. After hours of intense discussion, the tension in the hut began to ease. Wanjiku's father, after consulting with his advisors, finally spoke. His words, though measured, carried the weight of finality. He accepted the dowry, acknowledging Kamau's commitment and the respect he had shown to their traditions. As a sign of this acceptance, he offered Kamau a sip of traditional beer from a gourd, a gesture that sealed the agreement. Kamau, overwhelmed with relief, accepted the gourd and drank. The elders, too, raised their bowls, and the mood in the hut shifted from solemnity to celebration. Laughter and stories filled the air as the families shared a feast, their differences set aside in favor of the union that would soon bind them. Outside, the night had fallen, and the stars blinked down upon the Kikuyu Hills, as if the ancestors themselves were watching. The negotiations had been successful, and Wanjiku and Kamau were now free to plan their wedding. Their love, once hidden and forbidden, was now a source of pride and unity, not just for them, but for their entire community. The days that followed were filled with joy and preparation. Wanjiku and Kamau, with the blessings of their families, began planning their wedding, a grand ceremony that would bring together two clans and celebrate a love that had overcome every obstacle. The whispers of the Kikuyu Hills had spoken, and their love story was just beginning.